What's up, everybody? Welcome to the My RC Life YouTube channel, where we do all things RC and a little bit of everything in between. Let's go! What's going on, everybody? Trax is Mike from My RC Life. The last time we ran the 12S Outcast, I heard grinding, and come to find out, the center diff was having some problems. So I tore it apart, and come to find out, it was these two bevel gears that were giving us the problem. As you can see there, that's the problem. Now the second bevel gear is pretty decent. There's a tooth right there that has a chip out of it, and another tooth right there has a small chip. So 1, 2 teeth, it looks like, that have a small problem. So it was mainly this one. This one was probably still holding together, and all the satellite gears, or the spider gears, looked fine. So I went ahead and ordered a diff rebuild kit. I'm going to show you how to put her together. Got the new differential rebuild set for the center diff for the 12S Outcast, or what you might know better as the 8S Outcast, but mine's a 12S. The 5th scale Arrma Outcast. There we go. So, check out, I took the diff fluid, and dumped it out of here. It was 20 million weight. I use this stuff here. And obviously, because, it ground the teeth down, it had metal in it. Well, I put it on the back side of my magnetic tray, and look, it made perfectly spaced lines where I guess that's where the metal's at, I'm assuming, because this is magnetic. But ain't that neat? I thought that was pretty cool. I thought you guys would get a kick out of that. I got a kick out of it, at least. Looks pretty neat. Alright, we're going to open up all of our new stuff here. Okay, there's all my new stuff. I'm surprised it don't come with these new pins right here. It comes with a new set of these cross pins that go through your satellite gears or your spider gears, but it don't come with 2 of these. So if they break, I guess you got to order those separate. Yep, you got to order those separate if you want them. Okay, good to know. First thing I'm going to do is lay these new gears in there. Then I'm going to take these new cross pins, put all the satellite gears on there, put all these guys on, set them in the diff, slide one of those bevel gears in there, slide this on, flip it over, hold everything in, put the next one on, and I want to feel how much slop there is in there. Now, there's a little slop in there telling me that I can probably throw another shim back behind here. So I'm going to pop that pin out, pop a second shim in there, put this pin back in. Okay, got her in. Now let's see. Okay, now look. All that slop is gone. Now that that's all done, we can go ahead and grab some new 20 million. You see that little bit of dirty stuff because I used like a screwdriver that had some, like something like this on it already. I dipped in there. It got dirty, but it sunk all the way to the bottom. Kind of crazy. But yeah, I'm gonna scoop some of this out. And just kind of jam her down in there. And you can jam this guy back in and flip it around to the other side. And you can see some of it's coming through. And you can scoop some more of this stuff out. I'm trying to stay away from that brown stuff, even though I'm pretty sure there's no metal in there. It's probably just a little bit of dirty grease mixed in there. Grab me another good chunk. Probably half of it will do. Kind of get that in there. Mush it around a little bit. Now you can't just leave it filled up. You can't fill it all the way up to the top because you got to leave room for that bevel gear to sit down in there. The best way is to leave it sitting like this, like overnight. And eventually it'll just flatten out just like this stuff here did. It'll just flatten out and find its way into all these little gears inside of here. And then if you have to put a little bit more in, you know, in the morning or a few hours later or whatever, you can. But okay, we're going to let that sit like that for a bunch of hours and then come back and finish assembling it. Okay, well, it's the next morning. And as you can see, that's all settled down in there. And I don't think I need to add any more in there. Actually, by the time I bolt this on, if you see, I sit this on top of here. And there's still a little gap there. So by the time I bolt this on, it should kind of squish all the fluid out. I just push that tight there. Now let's take it back off. Yeah, see, it's made the exact shape of that bevel gear into the fluid there. That's probably about perfect amount I got in there, I would say. So I'll bring over my parts container that's got my diff bolts in it. I see they had Loctite on these from the factory, so I'm putting some back in. We'll put the other end on here. The diff is put back together nice and tight. I like how it's nice and tight like that. Perfect. Now we have our motor and transmission set up here. Okay, this can only go in one way. Because if you notice, you know, you can see more on one side than the other. See the red, there's more of a gap than there is on this side here. So if you push it in this way, look at how your gears are. This one overlaps that one. So they're not 100% engaged. But if you flip this around, put the red forwards towards the engine there, get the bearing inserted. Now look, they're like almost perfect. So you got to make sure you have the exposed red area of the center diff facing this way, facing the motor mount. Got my bearing in there. You don't want to forget that bearing because that's going to ride right up on that guy there. I'm down to about half of a container full of this track power gear grease. I've been putting this stuff to use. It's really good stuff. I like to use my pinky. I don't know why, but it just seems to work better that way. You don't make as much of a mess, I guess. I feel if I just use my pinky. If I use like my pointer finger, I end up getting it all over my hand. If I use just my pinky, and I can easily just rub her around, be done with it, and then just wipe the old pinky back off, you know. Perfect, just like that. And then we're gonna put the other half of the transmission on. Just like that. Looks nice and even all the way around. Clean all the dirt and debris off from this seal here. This also goes one way. See how it's got the little notch right there? The notch matches there towards the back, towards the motor there. So that goes in one way. Okay, perfect. Now this is ready to be bolted back together. Alright, does everything move? It sure does. Okay, so that's ready to sit back down in the car. Even on the bottom. That looks pretty neat. Now I wonder if I let this sit out on something else now, if it will, you know, the lines will disappear. Well, isn't that cool? Look at them perfectly spaced lines. Or I wonder if I turned this, rotated it a different way, if the lines would change form again. I'm going to lay that down and see what that looks like a little bit later. We got the car back up here. It's time to get this transmission and stuff set back in. Now we got to make sure we get these drive shafts, the front and the rear one right here. You can't really see it, but there it is. Got to get it to drop in. The rear one will go in there. The front one up in there. We got to get those lined up. Okay, the rear one's in. Let's get that front one in, hopefully. Now we got to get these bigger screws here, or bigger bolts, whatever you want to call them, and get those into the bottom. Now I got one that is shorter than the other, and I don't remember exactly where that one came from, but I think I can probably figure it out. So I'm going to start with the long ones, and I think I'm going to go underneath and try to start one in by hand so I can flip this up and the transmission won't fall out on me. The center of the transmission doesn't take any Loctite on them, so I can just kind of get it lined up. Start it in there a bit. Yep, feels like it's nice and started in there. This one guy here goes into the motor mount. I can see just a little bit of Loctite left on it. And now it's all coming back to me. I do believe it went right there. It's also a different size. It's not this size like the other ones. It's a much smaller size. It fits on this guy rather than this guy. Alright, since this is going into the aluminum motor mount, put this little drop of Loctite on there. Okay, I don't want it all the way tight, just kind of halfway snug. Switch over to this guy. A little bit more Loctite on there. Okay, so we got this one, that one. Then these here don't need Loctite. That's going into the plastic section of the transmission. Gonna set this back down. Now we got our whole servo, receiver, ESC, and fan set up here. Gosh, it's such a beast. Literally a beast. This whole big chunk. But I kind of like it like this. It kind of comes apart pretty easy. This has got 4 bolts in it. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I got all those right there. And then this is the one that goes through this servo arm right here. Okay, and when you sit it in, this thing has to sit in this little notch right there. See that notch? That's where this has to drop down in. Drop this down in. All right. Move this arm up and turn the tires until it lays right on top of where the bolt needs to go down through. Grab my 2.5 millimeter there. Stick it right down in through there. Now there's a nut that goes and is inserted in that steering arm. If you don't feel, not in the steering arm itself, but down where the steering arm bolts to, it's got a little slot underneath it, and there's a small nut that slides in there. If you feel like this is just spinning and spinning and never getting tight, you've lost your nut. You can see the nut goes right in here. Kind of hard to show you. There, you can kind of see the slot now. See that? See that slot right there? There's a nut that slides in there. So if that fell out, your bolt is not going to tighten. So anyways, I'll put this back together. You can see exactly how it goes now. Tighten your 2.5 millimeter Allen head, your button head Allen bolt there. Give it a nice little snug down. That's hooked up. Then we got these 4 screws here. Flathead Allens. Oh shoot, guys. Forgot my seal. Dang it. Okay, so I just put it back on time lapse and I hurry up and I tear the car back apart. I had to take the receiver box and servo and everything back out, then pull the transmission apart. Throw that seal back in the bottom of the transmission. Drop the transmission back into it. Re-Loctite a few of those bolts there. So the other few bolts back in the bottom of the transmission. I went ahead and put 1 support bar in and bolted the ESC in, and we're done. Okay, now next we're going to put these 4 bolts in to the bottom of this ESC receiver box steering servo thingamadoo. Set her back down. Last part is putting in the remaining 3 bars. This long one goes up here because I remember I got this on here so my battery for my fans hits that and won't slide back anymore. This top one takes the longest pins. You have a bunch of different sizes of these, and the 2 longest ones go here and here. The medium long one goes here, and then the short ones go here, 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 and here. Okay, I got that one in. Just like that. Next one right here. This one will be a short one. Now you might have to twist these in or out to get them to line up. Okay, got that one on. Okay, this one's going to go through on the transmission. You guys can't really see this one worth of crap, but it's the one that goes through the back side of the transmission. This one's probably one of the harder ones to get to. Got her in. Then we got the rear one here. It'll go through the bottom hole. You got a top and a bottom hole there. I don't know how well you guys can see that. Top hole and a bottom hole. We're going to use the bottom hole. All right. And one more here. Got the last long pin. Go all the way through just like that. Get that in. And your last one right through here on the top. Okay. And put our motor wires back on. And we're all done. Okay, guys, she's together. She's nice and tight, and hopefully I won't have any more issues with the center diff in this thing. That's been the first problem I've had with it, as far as I remember. Well, we got the Outcast back together, but next time we'll be running it, and we'll see how well that new diff will handle the power of this 12S monster. That's it for today, guys. I'm Traxxas Mike from My RC Life, and I'll see you later. Bye, guys.
Thanks for watching another episode of My RC Life. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.